All right. Welcome, everyone. Pat and Mike show. Here's the Friday edition. Today we have Casey Callahan on. Casey's an attorney at our office who specializes in estate planning and elder law. Welcome, Casey.
Thank you guys so much for having me on the Pat and Mike show. I'm honored to be here.
Yeah, for sure. And we all know Pat. There's Pat down there.
What up, everyone?
We're just quick little thing. We're still serving families virtually. I know that the stay-at-home order has lifted, but with all the restrictions and everything, and just the feedback from all of you, we're going to continue to serve families virtually as long as we can because just the feedback has been incredible. Speaking of that, last night I actually did a signing with a couple. They were at the pool. I mean, how cool is that? They're at the pool, their kids are swimming, and we're signing estate planning documents. So I thought that was a first for me, and I loved it.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting the things that get you excited at certain points in your life, right? Signing estate planning documents, poolside, killer.
Right, that's right. I was just kind of mad they didn't invite me to the pool, but other than that, I thought it was really cool that we did it.
I was going to say, it could only be better if the attorney was also poolside.
You know, I was like, where was the Evite on that?
Truth. So Casey, do you mind telling us a little bit kind of about yourself, your backstory, how you wound up here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm born and raised in Rochester Hills, Michigan, went to Michigan State University where I got my undergraduate degree. And then I had the bright idea to kind of go out of state to the University of Georgia for law school. I was so convinced at the time that I was over and done with Michigan. I was tired of these cold, bitter winters and wanted to go somewhere new in the country and put down roots. And while I did love my time down in Georgia, it was funny. Every time I'd come back home for the holidays, visit friends, family, what have you, the more I realized that, it's not so bad here. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. So really when it came down to, okay, where am I going to take the bar exam? Like, where am I truly going to set down roots and, establish myself in my career? It really just became clear to me at that point that I wanted to be back home in Michigan. And so packed everything back up in the car, made that 14-hour drive back up I-75. And now I'm here in the Metro Detroit area.
Fantastic. And we are dang glad to have you.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
For sure. So, what sort of brought you to this area of practice, to estate planning, to elder law? Beyond that, what did you think it was beforehand? And now that you've got, quite a bit of experience under your belt, how has kind of expectations and reality differed on that?
Yeah. So what brought me to estate planning, it was kind of actually quite serendipitous. One of the reasons, aside from just getting out of Michigan, that I had chosen to go to the University of Georgia was that they had a really robust international law program. And international law is really what I thought I wanted to do with my career after I graduated. In taking my classes, I had signed up for some sort of international law course that ended up getting canceled because there weren't enough students in it. And because it was for a prerequisite that I needed to have, they just kind of shifted my credits into a different class, which just so happened to be estate plan drafting. It wasn't even a class I'd signed up for, but I figured, okay, well, I got thrown into this. Let me just check it out and see if I like it. And really, I mean, after the first class, I was like, wow, this might actually be what I end up wanting to do. I just connected with the material so quickly and enjoyed kind of the nitty gritty. I'm very detail oriented, so getting into drafting and everything that entails was very appealing to me. And plus, I think at the end of the day, everybody goes to law school, at least in part, because they want to be able to serve their community and help people. And as great as international law is, you have so much more client interaction where you truly are making a difference in people's lives daily when you're working in estate law, as opposed to that kind of broader international legal field. And then to answer your second question in terms of how the expectations versus reality, I'd actually say that everything kind of meshed up more or less with what I anticipated, just in terms of you meet so many different people that are really coming from all walks of life and have different issues that they're dealing with. I guess maybe that is one thing that I thought a lot of people would just be coming like, hey, I need to get an estate plan in place. What should I do? Help me out. But truly, I'd say almost every day is different from who's going to walk into the door and what sort of goals they're trying to accomplish with estate planning. It's definitely a lot less cookie cutter than I thought it might be, in terms of people just have so vastly different goals and so vastly different needs, but yet we can still service them all through accomplishing their goals with estate planning.
Gotcha.
So good. Yeah, it's interesting you say that, Casey, because as you know, I had a very similar kind of career path where I started in like bigger corporate law, and as soon as I actually started doing estate planning, it always kind of interested me in law school. I didn't think this is where I would end up, but as soon as I started doing planning for families, I was like, this is what I have to do, and I got to do it now. Like I'm done doing that. I got to do this.
Yeah, it was very similar for me. Like, well, I had even had some internships in the international law and international trade fields. And just taking that course, not even having the real practical experience of an internship or working post graduation, just that course alone, I was like, man, there's just a connection between me and what this work looks like and the material involved, that it kind of goes beyond anything else that I've experienced previously. It really is a little bit unique in that regard.
For sure. One of the things that I found surprising or striking or whatever you might say when I started doing this type of work is I always kind of thought of it as, to be blunt, like death planning. Like what happens when someone passes away? Where does their stuff go? But there's so much more to it than that, particularly on this side of things. And that's where you get into the elder law, the Medicaid law, situations where people have maybe competency issues or being able to stay at home, or whether, what degree of assistance they need, that kind of thing. So has that kind of been your experience?
Absolutely. So I think when everybody thinks of estate planning, I think what comes to mind is asset distribution. Where is my stuff going to go once I've passed away? But there's a real unspoken question there of, am I going to have assets to be distributed when I do pass away? I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't think about. I know for me personally, coming into the field, it's not necessarily something that had been on my radar, is not just planning for death, but planning through life, as you kind of reference, whether that's Medicaid or even just protecting assets from, whether that might be a lawsuit, divorce, potentially, whatever the case might be. Making sure that people have enough to take care of themselves throughout their lifetime as well, so that when they do pass away, there is stuff to be left over to the kids, grandkids, what have you.
Yeah, that makes a really good point, Casey. Our industry as a whole takes a little bit to catch up with like what's really happening right now. There was always the concern of probate, and that's a well-established thing that we can help with. But it's interesting how many families come to us and they talk about taxes. Like, they maybe one of their top goals is to pay less tax, and that's not nearly the problem it is today that it used to be. I mean, now it's people are living longer, more people are getting divorced because people are living longer, people are getting remarried, and there's always that concern, like two people come together late in life. How are we going to make sure that the kids who we always wanted to get our stuff, our kids still get our stuff, and we don't pass away and then our new spouse does something different? Like, there's so many different concerns that can happen before someone passes away that maybe just didn't used to be the focus of estate planning.
Yeah, it truly is, speaking to a client, it's a you first approach. It's not, where's everything going to go when you're gone? It's, how are we going to make sure that we get you to where you want to be throughout the duration of your lifetime? We want to make sure that you're taken care of, and that you're going to be able to live comfortably and kind of maintain your standard of living, regardless of, as we've seen this year, the unexpected hiccups that might come along.
Mm-hmm. Well, and to Mike's point there on the, it is amazing how often question of taxes comes up. Well, right now in Michigan, if you pass away, you can leave almost $23 million to the kids, and there's not a dime of estate tax on any of that. I mean, that is that number, $22.8 million, not a dime of estate tax on any of that. For how many people is that a real issue? As opposed to, what if you needed somebody to come out and help around the house, or what if it was assisted living or skilled care? I mean, go from something that might be a couple thousand a month to 10 or 12,000 a month. And pretty much all of us are going to need some level of care on that spectrum at some point. I mean, that is a much more immediate, a much more real need that most of the families we work with have.
Pat, I mean, don't get us wrong. You know, if that is a problem for you, our number is scrolling down below, 1-800-STATES. That give us a call. Like, we'd be happy to help with that. But
correct.
It's just like 0.02% of the population.
Who we are more than happy to help. But
you can have my direct line, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cell phone.
But yeah, it's a different game than what it was, 20 years ago. I mean, 20 years ago, the estate tax was not 22 million; it was 600,000, and all of a sudden, that's a real issue to people. But it's just the kind of thing that keeps changing.
Yeah, and I think just to add on to that, because so many people, I mean, frankly, a lot of people don't think about your death, right? You're living, you're enjoying life, so you're not necessarily planning for that unknown. So a lot of people's experience with estate planning is what their parents went through, what their grandparents went through, what happened to prior generations. And as you're pointing out, Pat, I mean, a lot of people heard about inheritance tax because it was so much lower that it affected so many more people several decades ago. But now that's just not simply something that we're planning for on the day-to-day for most clients. It really is more, you're living longer, so how are we going to make sure that you're living comfortably throughout the duration of your time on earth, whether that's in assisted living, maybe that's full skilled care, whatever that might look like. We want to make sure you have the assets to take care of it.
For sure. Hey, Casey, let's talk about, right now the world's not normal, right? And although the stay-at-home order is lifted, people are still trying to stay in their home as much as possible. Like, what does the process look like to do any of the things that we've just talked about? Like, give us, because it's interesting. You've seen both sides of the spectrum, right? You've seen what is the traditional process where we're meeting in person for every meeting. Oh, we lost them. Pat, let's you and I talk about that.
Yeah.
So, Casey has seen both sides of the coin here in, meeting with families and then also doing everything virtually. So let's just talk about, like, what are we doing right now to meet with families? There he is.
That was weird. Okay.
All right. One second. We're going to have to
Yep. I'm not exactly sure what happened there.
All right.
Excellent. Okay.
Back on. So let's take a minute and talk about the process right now, because the stay-at-home order has lifted, but we're still meeting with everyone virtually just because of all the protocol and the uncertainties of going out to the public and being close to people. So, Casey, talk to me a little bit about, if I want to schedule a meeting with you, what does that look like?
Yeah. So we do still offer our process entirely virtually, right? So we're going to be doing Zoom video conferences, fairly similar to this Facebook Live. We're going to be meeting face to face, just online. And it's really great to be able to do it face to face because you're going to get all those same interactions that you normally have with a client. We do, however, also have our Bloomfield Hills location open for in-person visitations. And again, we're going to be able to meet with people by still complying with all of the current regulations that are coming out regarding how to have social interactions while still, dealing with the current pandemic that's going on. So we've got all sorts of precautions taken, whether that's, attorneys wearing masks, socially distancing at least 6 feet apart while we're actually interacting with each other, as well as having hand sanitizer and similar cleaning products on hand to make sure that we're keeping a clean and sanitized environment.
For sure. And some of the things that we found has been very beneficial as part of all this is the ability for family members to also join meetings. So, we've been having, like, children of parents, we've had siblings, because they want to understand what's going on. And so now we have all the technologies in place to make that happen, whether it's on a TV in the conference room. We've also, we've built like a cart to almost look like a human, which is super cool. It's like it sits there at the conference room table with you. So just that alone has been awesome for just being able to serve families better, I think.
Yeah, it's funny that this virtual process, I think, has ended up actually allowing us to connect with more clients, not just across, Metro Detroit in a greater swath of area, but even just people of different situations, whether that is maybe grandma who doesn't have an internet connection or doesn't have a camera on her TV. well, she can come into the office, but if she's concerned about meeting with somebody face to face, we can set her up on the cart. I can still meet with her from my home, so I'm never interacting with her personally. No touch involved, but we can still have a face to face conversation to actually, talk about what her goals are and set a plan in place. So it is really cool that we've been able to adapt our process to really suit anybody of almost any situation.
Sure.
And as Mike was saying, you can do it poolside.
That's right. Anywhere you like, as long as you have to be aware of confidentialities and all of those things, but you can do it wherever you like. Also, we also encourage bringing advisors on board to the meetings. If there's a financial advisor, CPA that might, we need to get together to collaborate on, similar goals and objectives. Those are always great individuals to have into those meetings to just help with the planning.
Yeah, for sure. I see this being I see this being a big part of the practice, not just now, but especially come winter. I see it being a part of it going forward. But I mean, for crying out loud, if it's December or January in Michigan, do you want to drive out into the blizzard to meet with the attorney, or you want to sit at home with a cup of hot chocolate and be like, you know what, this works.
Fireside. I'm feeling that mood. I'm feeling it. I like it.
Yeah, and similarly, so many people in Michigan have places up north, and you can still plan around a schedule of, going up, leaving your primary residence, going up north, but you can still meet with us virtually, so you don't have to be in the same location every time to actually get your estate plan accomplished. So it's probably nice as well that we're not throwing so many hiccups in people as they're trying to plan vacations and what have you.
For sure.
Hey, Casey, one last thing I want to touch on is, I understand that you're doing initial consultations, maybe going through the meetings, through the process. Are you still able to sign documents? How are you doing that? Are clients coming into the office? Give me a little on what does the signing process look like?
Yeah, so through the end of the month, we are still able to sign documents virtually. But the only reason we were able to do that in the first place was by an executive order signed by the governor. As of right now, that executive order is set to expire on the 30th at midnight. So that could potentially get extended, but if it doesn't, we still have other options to meet with people to sign documents. As I mentioned, we have our Bloomfield Hills office open. If you want to come into the office for that signing, we can get that accomplished. Alternatively, we can also visit you in your home if you're more comfortable with that and do a signing there. And then really, if you want to be, take the ultimately cautious approach, we can also do a review meeting where we just talk through the documents, and then the attorney will just, swing by your house for 5 minutes, have you sign off on everything we've already talked over, witness and notarize it, and you'll be all set. So really, we can still adapt in quite a few ways, even if we're no longer able to do everything virtually, to really minimize that personal social contact and make sure that we're complying with all state regulations.
Awesome.
I think that speaks to something that is one of the reasons I love working with this firm is it has to do with kind of one of the overarching philosophies. Often when you deal with lawyers, and we're all lawyers, especially when you're dealing with either regular folks or people who own their businesses or things like that, they are used to the attorney being the person who says, here's 56 reasons you can't do the thing that you want to do. Here's why, no, you can't do that. And what I have seen from Mike putting his name on things, so he's obviously leading from the front, but everyone else has the same mindset of, well, how do we make this happen? Somebody wants something to happen. What are the ways that we can make that happen? And usually you can figure out a way. Usually you can figure out, okay, they want this to work. Here's how we're going to make that work. As opposed to, well, this is what you want to have happen, but here's all these reasons that it couldn't. It's like, okay, we'll deal with that. But I bet we can figure out a way around this. And 99 times out of 100, you can. I've always really appreciated that mindset, as opposed to the like, well, if you look at, subpart G6, and yeah, you have to look at subpart G6 and realize how you're going to address that. But that's not you can't do it. It's okay, so we have to figure out how we're going to.
We all did far too much schooling to not do a little problem solving to make sure we can accomplish clients' goals.
Did I tell you guys about the drive-through window we're putting in?
Right.
Yes.
Or maybe the old McDonald's that we'll buy, and then we'll have everyone just go through the drive-through.
There we go.
Constantly innovating.
So good. We'll make it happen. Whatever it, I mean, I guess the overall idea here is that everyone has loved the convenience. Not only the families that we work with, but all the employees. I mean, it's been great. We've got Kevin, who's on our team. He's up north in the UP right now and hasn't missed a beat. I mean, anyone can work from anywhere doing the things that we're doing. And as a team, I feel like we're better connected. We're serving families better. I mean, there's just so many. You often hear all of the negatives that have come out of what's happened. I can say for sure this has been a positive from all the coronavirus stuff.
Absolutely.
That's all I got. You did
All
great.
right.
Casey, you rocked.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Love having you on the team. Thank you so much for being on here. If you want to get in touch with Casey, the number's been scrolling across the bottom, or you can check out the website, rutkowskilawfirm.com.
Very good.
Yeah. You can meet with any of our attorneys, but ask for me specifically.
For sure.
Right. Everyone have a lovely weekend. Mike, have yourself a lovely Father's Day.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm sure it'll be special.
It will. Absolutely.
All right.
All right, guys. Have a good weekend. Thanks for being on, Casey.
Yep. Take care, guys.